Hello everybody, and welcome again to another Back to Basics. I'm Travis Blaze, and today we're going to be talking about the flour sack. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it just so we can see what we're doing here today. And here we go. Today we're going to be talking about something that I find just as important for the basics of animation. Before I talked about the bouncing ball and why that matters, well, the same applies to the flour sack. This is one of the first things that I actually learned how to animate before I started getting the more complex animation. The flour sack is what I like to say, this is where you can start playing around with personality. Different ways you can practice stretching and squashing and twisting and bending and bouncing. And one of the great things about the flour sack is you're not bogged down with expression or personality with the eyes or more complex animation. What you're really focusing on is giving expression and personality to something that is simple in design. And the flour sack can be used for various things. When you go in and you start drawing the flour sack, you're like, well, how does this relate to, a human being? Or how does this relate to an animal? Or in fact, well, how do I connect a bouncing ball animation, and how does that make sense and work with the flour sack? See, this is sort of the basis for how you're going to incorporate it into an animated character. And so I wanted to kind of like show you the examples like this because I just want you to find the relevance and why it is important to kind of practice working with the flour sack. This is a great way to really kind of get into the flour sack, understand how you can move it around, and then apply it to a more complex character design. One exercise I do is take 5 emotions: angry, sad, happy, sleepy, scared, and then put your flour sack and try to pose them out in those emotions. What I've done is I've tried to simplify it by first doing a simple shape like this and said, does this represent happy? A lot of these are challenging and hard. Maybe angry is more angular. Maybe scared is more of a swoop and a twist away, where I have more of a curve with the flour sack for sad, and I have more of a straight curve like that for happy, and then I have really more of a straight line for angry, and then a swoop away for scared, and then you've got this sort of S curve happening for kind of sleepy. Doing this over and over again will help you to get better and improve on your drawing, your volumes, and your animation skills. Maybe it's more like that. Try looking at films that you enjoy, things that have more theatrics to it. Look at silent films. Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy. These are great silent films that you can look at. All you're focusing on is gestures, poses. Scared could be a number of different ways. Happy could be a number of different ways. And one way to look at it is by looking at these types of films and then freeze framing those and then gesturing out the flour sack to kind of match that gesture that you might like. This is, I started off with a flour sack as a quadruped, and I wanted to show the example of how you could take a flour sack quadruped animation and apply it to an actual animal. Just so you can see this. And you can see it's just, all I'm doing is going, taking the simple shape and applying my movement without getting all the extra details in there. Just so you can see that in continuity with one another, I am going to show you this. And there you go. That's the two of them literally together to kind of show you how your flour sack and getting really good with animating and twisting and turning and getting emotions into your flour sack, how you can apply that to more complex characters like the squirrel. Try doing a jump test. Try doing something where you can practice doing something where the character is jumping from one place to another. And this was a really quick rough that I did as a demo for my students, and this is something that you can do yourself. And what I was trying to express and explain to them is how you can really push this character jumping up. If we go backwards, so he starts off in his normal pose, and again I kept this really loose and really pushed it down to squash it, and then stretch like a really, I could have probably even stretched that even more. Stretch, and then he starts to curl up to catch up with his feet. He almost goes out of frame, and bam, he lands like a hacky sack right on top of the next log. I do this all the time. I do this as daily for practice because it allows me to kind of loosen myself up. I think of them almost like just like warm-up gestures or warm-ups animating. Once you've done your gestures, once you've kind of gotten used to drawing the character and you've done your stretching and squashing, now try practicing a walk cycle. But essentially the way you want to set this up is, a quick way is you have a starting pose, and one of the first things you want to do is lay a grid down. You want to allow yourself to have some kind of grid like this right here. What I like to do is find my first pose of the character, and then I draw a line across the top to show, okay, that's his head. That's the top part of where his head is at. And then right there on the feet, on the grid, I start plotting out where I want his feet to go. And then the next thing you can do is, and you do this as a separate layer underneath. And then I have the ball sitting there because he's going to do a ball kind of kick. And if you see at the top, sort of thumbnail of how I wanted the character to walk across. And then I created arcs for where his feet are. So then I went in and I just started animating it. And I did a quick rough pass, and then what happens is he stops and he kicks the ball. So this is the result. I'm going to show you one more how this flower sack is relevant to more complex characters. It is tracks from my TV show that I'm developing. He actually is sort of like a flower sack already. He has those elements. And here you go. This is what it would look like as a flower sack. Now if I add that all together with Trax himself, there you go. And like I said before, doing the flower sack is essential for practicing more complex animation, preparing yourself, and it's a good warm-up exercise. So, again, I hope you like this Back to Basics tutorial. I am Travis Blaze at Sketchtoanimate, and if you like this and you want to see more, please like and comment. And again, as always, have fun, enjoy this, and there you go.